Hi friends, Sharon from Mad Paper Crush here. Welcome back to my channel. And today I have 6 more altered paperclip ideas for you. So I had so much fun doing the other ones that I thought I would do a couple more. And this is what I've come up with. And I hope that you'll join me today as we talk about these different kinds of altered paper clips. So we have the calendar paper clip. So I love this one because you can easily move it around as your month goes by if you're, using a planner or something, or even just want to know what month it is. These are great to have around and in your stash and inside your journal. And then we also have these amazing feather altered paper clips. So these are really fun because they stick out a little bit out of your journal and they're made with die cuts. So if you have, some dies that you haven't used in a while, this is a perfect way to maybe use up, start using some of those dies that you don't get out all the time. And then we also have like a vintage slide die. So I'll be showing you how I make this, and this one turned out really fun. I added some embossing to it and everything as well. And then we have this is like a planner type clip. So if you've ever used different types of planners, a lot of time they have these types of clips for you to put in as bookmarks or things like that. But these are really fun because they stick out of the top of the binder, or your journal that you're using, or the side, depending on, where you put it. So these are a lot of fun to make. And then we have, these are just some circle clips. I had a really good time using up some papers that I had some mixed media on to make these, and they're also really fun and easy to do. And then we also have these, which are completely hidden paper clips. So they just kind of look like a piece of ephemera or an embellishment in your journal, but they're actually, a paper clip that will, stick to the top of your journal page and then even hold, different items in there as well. So you can, tuck all sorts of goodies into the front and into the back of this type of altered paper clip. So let's go ahead and get started and make some of these paper clips. Another idea for altered paper clips is to make calendars from them. So I have been creating these little monthly calendars, and then I add this little pocket on the back where I can just slip in a paper clip, and then I can put it right into my journal. So a lot of times I like to know, what day of the week it is for, dates in the future or whatever. So I have this that I can just put into my journal, and then I can just slide it right in there, and it becomes just kind of like an embellishment or a decoration. And I like doing these this way because then I can remove the paper clip and use it over and over again. So I have, a bunch of different months, and I can just, when September's done and gone, I can take that out and either just glue that into my journal, which I often do, or I can throw it away if I would want to do that. And then I can put another month, a paper clip in another month. The other thing about doing these this way is that it actually has kind of a double pocket. So you could put it down at the bottom too if you wanted to have the month down at the bottom of your journal, so that maybe it doesn't get in the way of your, journaling, or, some collage or whatever you might have in your journal there. So I will link to how I put these together up in the corner here, and then also down below. And over there, there's also a freebie for the 2021 clips that you see here. I know it's almost, towards the end of the month, but I'll probably be doing these again next year. So you can head over to my website, madpapercrush.com. And get onto my newsletter if you'd like to be notified when I have the 2021 clips ready to go, and then you'll have another set of 12 to use for next year. Okay, so to make the feather altered paper clip, I used these feather die cuts that I have, and I will link them down below if you're interested in taking a look at them. And I actually cut the die cuts from just some watercolor practice pages that I had done. So they just have, lots of colors on them and things like that. So what we're going to do though to make it a little sturdier and then to apply the paper clip is we're going to use just another piece of paper. Now I have a little double-sided piece of cardstock here, and I'm going to find the feather that matches, make sure I have the right one. And then you want to make sure you have the die cut in the correct direction before you trace it. So I want the solid piece of paper to go underneath my feather, and I want it to be the same shape as the feather when it's right side up. So I'm going to put this down like this, and now just so you know, when it cuts, I'm going to have a little bit of a border, but I'm okay with that because I think that'll make it look nice. So I'm just going to put the die cut down here, and I don't have a border die cut for these, so I'm just kind of winging this border by hand. And I'm just going to outline the whole thing, and then I'm just going to cut it out. Okay, I have it all cut out, and I'm just going to grab my distress ink and add a little distress ink around it, front and back, since you'll be able to, you know, see the back. And then I'm going to glue this down. So before I glue it down, I'm just going to double check and make sure when I cut it out, I did a decent job of cutting on the border, on the line that went around it, and I think that looks pretty good. So I'm just going to take the piece that I'm going to glue it on, and you could use, you know, like a glitter glue or something to glue this down, to put the glue on this side, but because of all those little striations and things, I'm going to just glue on this piece. So I'm just going to take my glue stick here and put a good layer of glue all over this, and now it will, you know, seep through the holes a little bit, not seep through, but it will come through the holes. But I will just put this aside until it, you know, dries real good, if I can get it here. And I just want to make sure that I have it pretty centered on here, and then all the pieces are pressed down. It is a little sticky, so I'm just going to set it aside and let it dry while we work on the paper clip part. Now, I'm going to use these little brass, well, they actually, I think they're copper colored paper clips. And for this one, I just took, if you watch the first paper clip video that I did, we just did paper wrapped paper clips. And so what I did was I paper wrapped this paper clip to use as my base on the back here. Now you could do a couple of different things here. You could cut two of the base pieces if you wanted to and put them together so that the back piece would be the pocket for the paper clip if you didn't want, you know, this little thing showing. Or you could cut a little piece of, let me grab this back out again, a little piece of the paper that you were, you know, using for the back piece. Let me just cut a little bit of this out and see if I can show you what I'm talking about here. I'll probably have to cut this down a little. But you can take just a piece that's not the same shape, but it's also not wrapped like this. And now, like I said, I'm going to have to cut this down a little bit so that it fits on the back of your die cut, whatever you're using. So I'm just going to take my pencil here, and I'm going to mark where I might need to cut off some of this. And I'm just going to do it by hand here so that I have something to start with. And I might even have to go further than this, but at least this is a beginning spot. And I'm going to kind of make it match the shape of the feather. So as long as your piece of paper fits inside of the piece, you should be good to go. Now, the reason I kind of liked this idea was because when the paper clip is in it, it doesn't stick up above the top. So all you can see is the feather. So when you take your journal, let me grab the journal here, and find a page to put it on, you can see that, oops, the feather fits nicely on the piece of paper there. And then this one, because it's, you know, it doesn't have an upside down or anything, it also will go on sideways like this. And I like that as well. So you can do it two ways. So if you did the full backing as the other one, it might stick up a little bit. You know, the paper clip might stick up a little bit. And that's okay if you, you know, like it like that. But if we do it this way, I thought it might be fun to do another one, maybe where the paper clip is up a little bit higher. So what I could do for this one, actually, I think I'm going to put the small piece back on this one. So you can see here, if I put the piece of paper on this, the back of this feather like this, when I put it on my piece of paper, I don't know why I put that away. So we're just going to kind of pretend this is glued on until we really decide what we want to do. You can see that I would have some of the feathers sticking up above the paper, which once again might be very fun. I think I like that idea. And then I could also put it on the side, kind of like this, so that it would be sticking out of the side. So, you know, you kind of just have to decide, you know, what you'd like to do. And same thing, it could go over on this side as well. And I think I like this idea. So I'm just going to pretty much glue it down on here. So I have kind of matching paper. Actually, using this backside might be even better because it would probably even fit in even more in there. So I think maybe I'll do it this way so you can, it kind of blends in, you don't even really notice it there. So I am going to add a little bit of distress because, you know, I just really can't help myself, which may make it stick out a little bit more, but I'm okay with that. Yeah, just like that. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my paper clip on, leaving the side of my paper clip out, the hook side of my paper clip out that I want. So this is the larger one. I'm putting the small one to the inside. And this one I am going to glue down all the way. So I'm just going to, as we have done in some other ones, I'm going to glue it all over the paper, and then put it down so that it is on the inside. And I am going to kind of put it a little bit closer to the top for this, this shape, because I think that will give me, you know, really kind of what I'm looking for. All right, so before we move on, let's see what that one looks like inside the journal. And I love these feathers actually a lot with these ledger pages that are in this journal. I think they look great. So you can see how that looks, and I totally love the way that looks. And I'm just going to grab a little piece of paper here so you can see if you had like some ephemera sticking underneath there, you know, kind of how that would look. And then you could also take this and put it on the side. I can find where the paper clip is. And then you would have some of the feather sticking out of the book there as well. So I love doing that. I love the way those look. I think they add a nice pop of color to a vintage style journal. Okay, for our next altered paper clip, we're going to be using a die cut, and this one is from Sam Poole Designs, and I will link this down below. This is like a vintage slide that she has, and it is awesome. I love the way this turns out. So it's a, you know, full piece when you cut, and then you just fold it in half to create the little vintage slide piece. So these can be used for all kinds of things. You could make a whole journal out of this. You could just use it like for a specimen slide or something like that. These are a lot of fun. So I'll link to that down below if you're interested in getting this this die cut. But then what I did was I cut a second one out of some other paper, and then I cut it in half so that I just had the back half of the die cut. And so I did that so that I could put this in here and make our altered paper clip. So I cut this down to make sure that it fits inside when I fold this and everything lines up really good along the edges, so you can't, so it's not sticking out all over the place. But I love how it has a little picture in here. You could certainly leave this open, make it like a little pocket, either up here or on the side if you wanted to stick other things in it if you wanted to. I think that would be fun as well. But I cut these both out of some cardstock. I have my paper clip, and we're going to do what we always do. We're going to put the paper clip on here, and then we're going to glue this down. Now, because I started with some plain cardstock though, I am going to add a little bit of texture to this. I'm going to make it look a little bit more vintagey and fun. So to do that, I'm going to use some of Seth Apter's Baked Texture. This one is vintage beeswax that I'm going to be using. And then I'm also going to be using these Ledger Script stamps from Stampers Anonymous. So I just thought adding a little bit more on top of here would, be fun, would make it look a little bit more vintage here. So I'm just going to use like a kind of a embossing stamp there to put some of this stuff on. Actually, let's see, make sure this is all done, because I only want to do this in one fell swoop, and hopefully get enough on here. To do my texture. And I think I'm going to do one side at a time because I don't trust myself. So this is nice and wet, and I'm going to just put the beeswax texture over it. I don't think I got too much on the top. Okay, and then I'm just going to knock that off a little bit. And let's put this back in here. No waste, no waste. And then make sure everything's closed up before you turn your heater on. So I'm just going to go ahead and use my little embossing gun here to heat this up, and you'll see what this looks like when we're done. Okay, I finished heating it, and you can see that it turned from that sort of cream color. Now it just is just kind of looks waxy, just like beeswax there. So I love the way that looks, but you can see I didn't get any up here, so I'm going to try and restamp a little up here, and then I'm just going to do the whole back as well, so that I have texture all over the place. So I'm going to go ahead and do that real quick, and then we'll move on to the next step. I have my texture on there. I love the way it turned out here, and I bet you can guess the next steps. We're going to glue our paper down after we put our paper clip on. So you're going to put your paper clip on the back, and then we're just going to glue this piece down, and then we can finish this off by gluing the top on the front there. Okay, I have my back all glued on and ready to go there. Now I'm going to glue the rest shut. And we are going to, I'm going to add some metal to this to really make it fun in the end. So I'm just going to glue this down. It doesn't have to be perfect because we are going to put brads in these holes, and that's really going to hold everything together for us. So I'm just going to put this down, and actually before I do that, I may try to, this one doesn't look like it got punched out. Oh, yep, that was easy enough. Let's see if I can get that all there. Okay. So now we have our full slide there ready to go. And I'm just going to use my paper piercer to, actually I'm probably going to grab my phone book here. Make sure I don't hurt myself. And I'm just going to add a little bit of a hole. I'm making sure I'm going through, but I'm not like making it as large as these holes because my brad will cover that up. But I want to at least have holes in there so I can start to push my brad through on that. Okay, I have the brads that I'm going to use. I decided since my paper clip is silver that I'm going to match the silver with my brads. So I'm just going to gently put them through. Now another thing you can do if you don't want the brad ends to be showing, which you know, if I was thinking ahead I might have done, is you could put the brads through the holes before you glue it together. But I was just too excited to see how this was going to look. Whoa. And I love how it's coming together. Let me get these in here. Then we'll do a little show and tell. Okay. Let's find a nice page again. And you can see that turns out really nice as well. You can put lots of fun paper in there, which I was looking for something a little bit more contrasting. I don't really have anything right here. How about this? So you could stick an envelope in there, or, you know, another piece of ephemera in there. And I love the way that looks. So there you go. Another altered paper clip that's so much fun in your journal. Okay, to make our planner clip, the types of clips that you often see in planners for like bookmarks and things like that, where the paper clip is showing, but there's just like an element at the very top. So, you know, we had done a ribbon at the very top of one of our paper clips. And now I'm going to be doing kind of one of these planner clips, and I'm just going to pull out sort of a scrap piece of paper because I realize you can't really see the paper clip with my black background here. So I'm going to use this little wood ladybug here. So it's just a little wooden piece that I thought would be fun. And I'm using a black paper clip that I've curled the edges on. So I just took my little round nose pliers and I rounded the edges of those to make them, you know, cute and pretty. And then I also cut out a tiny piece of chipboard. And I think this is probably about a 1/2 inch by 1/2 inch. It almost exactly fits into one of the squares here on my mat. And so this is what I'm going to use. Now the YouTube person that I saw do this, so Tara, you can, I'm linking her down below. She was sort of my inspiration for these. And speaking of her, she has a wonderful video on, you know, making all sorts of these kinds of clips. So, and lots of good detail on, you know, different ways to do it and things like that. So I, you know, definitely encourage you to check out her video for way more than I'm going to be doing here. So all I'm going to do is I'm using this little piece of chipboard to kind of give me some stability on the paper clip and more of a surface area to be able to glue down my little butterfly. Now, Tara in her video used E6000, and I don't have any E6000. So I am going to use some of this gem tack, and it's kind of gotten a little bit old. So we're going to see if this works, because I really want to try to start using up some of the things that I have. So I don't even think the nozzle works anymore. So I'm just putting a little on my finger, and I'm going to lay this on really thick. And then I'm going to put the paper clip into it. And then before I glue the ladybug on, I'm definitely going to let this dry. And while I'm holding this down, I am going to kind of try to go over the paper clip with the glue so that it sort of gets like, you know, encapsulated in there surrounded by glue and gets a nice adhesion onto there. So you can see I have my paper clip on the chipboard here. Now when we glue on the butterfly, or I'm sorry, the ladybug, we're actually going to do it on this side, which is why I want it to dry really well before I move on. So I'm just going to set this one aside, and I will come back to it when it's all nice and dry and we can glue the ladybug onto it. Okay, my paper clip is dry now, and I think that's secured pretty good on there. And now I have this perfect little spot to put my ladybug on. And if you look at this piece, I don't know if you can see it on the camera, but I'm deciding what side I want up. And I think this is the back side. So it kind of looks a little bit, I don't know, it's hard to say which one's really the back, but I'm thinking this one is the back. So that's the one, that's the side I'm going to glue down. And I'm going to use my tacky glue for this. And I'm just going to put a lot of glue right on this piece. And once again, this is going to have to dry as well. So while I like the look of this kind of clip, you know, sometimes it's hard to wait so long for something to dry. So, but we will do it. So now I'm going to put that right on there and let the glue kind of seep up in between all those little pieces and parts there. And then once again, I'm going to set this aside to dry. Okay, our like planner style clip is done. That has our little ladybug on there. It's finally dried and everything. And I think these are really cute. I put this paper down just so you could see it because it kind of blends in with my background if I don't have it there. But I love, you know, having, you know, some sort of decoration at the top there. I think that's really cute. So I'm just going to kind of show you, look, that's a pocket on the back there, how this looks. So you can see it sits right at the top of a page, so that when you close the book, you know, you have your little ladybug coming out the top. So this makes a great bookmark, or even just a decoration for your journal. I love how that one turned out as well. Okay, so for our circle paper clip, I thought that I would use some mixed media backgrounds that I had made. So these are cut out of cardstock, so you could just use 2 pieces of cardstock, or these were on mixed media paper, so they're almost cardstock. They're pretty firm, but the paint and stuff on top actually makes them a little bit thicker. So I think these will be perfect for this. So what I'm going to do is I chose 2 that I want to go together. I cut out a 2-inch circle here, and I'm just going to use just a little bit of glue just to tack them together, because I'm going to sew around the outside of the circle, and I want them to stay in place before I do that. So I'm just kind of holding it together until it kind of sets just a little bit so that it'll stay. And I tried to keep the glue in the middle so that my sewing needle won't go through the glue so much. So I think that is pretty good. I'm just going to go do a zigzag stitch around the outside of this, and I'll be right back. You can see here I have my zigzag stitch around the outside. I did some brown thread to kind of match what I have on my paper here, some of the paint that I have on my paper here. And now I'm going to use this ribbon cutting tool. It's kind of like the same tool that I would use to create an eyelet, but it has these little flat ribbon punches that I can use on there. So I will see if I can try to find something similar that I will link down in the comments, because I've tried to find this before and I don't think that they're making this anymore. I got this a long time ago, so I don't think they're making this anymore, but I will try to see if I can find something that you could use. If you can't find something like that, or you don't want to find something like that, you could certainly just use a hole punch. So let me just kind of show you what I mean. I'm going to grab a little scrap of paper here, and I'm just going to use, like, you can use this is an 1/8 of an inch hole punch if you want. And so what you would do is, you know, you would mark this obviously I'm not going to mark it since I'm just kind of showing you. And I would punch 2 holes, and I would punch them about as far apart as the paper clip that I'm going to put through the hole. And then I would just take a craft knife, and probably with a ruler. I'm not going to do it with a ruler right now, but I would just cut this into one big sort of oval. So I would cut this middle piece between the holes out. And then you can see you would wind up with a similar hole to what we're going to make with the ribbon punch. So you can do either one of those things to, you know, put our paper clip through. And this one was a little far apart, but I just wanted to show you an example of how to do that. So you could, you know, measure the paper clip that you're going to use. If you were using a bigger paper clip, I don't know if I have one out right now. I don't think I do. Then you could, you know, make it a little bit bigger if you want, but you could measure that. So that's very doable, just with, you know, even if you have a crocodile, because I think there's an 1/8 inch hole punch on the crocodile that you could use to, you know, do something like this. So there is an option for you if you don't have a ribbon tool like I have, but I am going to use this ribbon tool because it does it all in one fell swoop, which I like. Let me see if I can get the mat out of here. And so I'm just going to take my piece, and I'm going to decide where I want, you know, what is right side up for this. So I kind of like how these holes are at the top, and then, you know, the brown is down here at the bottom. So I think I'm going to make this my top here. And then all I'm going to do is I'm going to eyeball where I want my paper clip to go through. Now you want to be sure, I mean, I'm using a 2-inch circle, and I'm going to be using one of these smaller paper clips. So I don't really, I mean, I wouldn't want to put my hole down too low so that my paper clip might come out the bottom. But if you wanted to have a paper clip where, you know, this part would sit above the book, you could, you know, punch the hole in the middle or punch it down lower so that you could, you know, have that, and then you would have just some paper clip sticking out of the bottom. But if you want to sort of keep the paper clip within the entire circle, and like I said, I'm just going to eyeball this. Hopefully it's relatively even. I'm going to do a couple punches, and of course it didn't go all the way through, so let me see if I can figure out where to put it back down. Actually, I think it did. I don't want to punch again. Okay, it wasn't perfect. Maybe I should try. I'm going to try and put this in here. I think I got it. And I'm going to make sure, there we go, that I get a nice clean punch there. So you can see this is basically the same shape as using the hole punch, 2 holes, and then, you know, cutting the middle apart. And then what you can do is you can, you know, decide what part of your paper clip you want to go through. And then you can see here that we have a nice little paper clip, and I'm going to grab my book so we can take a look and see how that looks. So if I have my page here, I can put my paper clip right on there, and you can see that I do, because it's down a little bit from the top, there is a little bit of my paper clip that sticks up above the paper, which I actually, you know, kind of like that. And then you could also put some ephemera in right up in here, or you could put some right up in here, or both places. And you even have room in the back to put some here. So there's 3 places to put ephemera with this type of altered paper clip. And like I said, if you wanted to do a hole that's a little bit smaller, or I'm sorry, lower, so that more of your paper clip sticks up above, this one's at the top, but I'm just going to pretend that I did it at the bottom or in the middle. Now this is going to be sort of a drastic example, but at least you'll get the idea of what I'm talking about. So if I did my hole in the middle or down towards the lower edge, I would have a paper clip that would sit up very high, so that you could put it, let me see how this would work here. There we go. So you could put it on like that, and you could have a lot of your circle or your shape. You know, you could certainly do this with any kind of die cut as well. that would be sticking up above, your paper. So I think that's kind of fun too, depending on, probably the middle would be a fun one to do, because then more of your, back would show from your, if you're using, some of your own artwork or something like that as well. So there's lots of options for these as well. All right, to make our totally hidden paper clip, we're going to use 2 pieces of cardstock and a paper clip, obviously. So this one, when I had made it, I cut the paper strip just about 2 times the size of the height of the paper clip, plus about 1 inch. So that's kind of why it's the size that it is. So the paper clip that's underneath here comes, all the way down kind of to the bottom of this paper here. So, but for this one, I decided I wanted it to be a little bit bigger. I'd have some more width and everything to it. I wanted to kind of do a different collage on the front, maybe see if we can add a little bit of fabric or something like that to it. So I cut my cover paper. So this is the one that's going to go on top of the base paper. I cut this one at about, I think it was about 3 times the size of the paper clip. So because I want to add a little bit when I fold it over, I don't want the paper clip to come all the way down to the bottom of this cover paper. I want it to be up a little bit higher. So I gave myself about 1 inch on this side, and then so I'll probably put the fold, about right here. And then on the other side, it'll be nice and long, so that once again, the back part will stick down below the front part. So I kind of like how that looks, because it kind of gives you, sort of the clue that there's a place, for the paper clip to go. So I'm just going to kind of show you what I mean by that. So when you have this paper clip, it's very easy to just slide it on top, of your piece of paper there. And it almost looks like a little, tuck spot here at the top, but obviously it's removable, and you could do it on the side, you could do it on the top. I really like how these look as well, especially since, it's very hard to tell that there's a paper clip in there. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to cut my base piece out. So I'm just going to, and when I cut the base piece, I want the base piece to have a little bit of a border. So I think that looks nice with this kind of light brown paper on top. So I'm just going to give myself maybe, I don't know if that's about 1/8 of an inch or so, something like that, of a border right there. And so then I'm going to cut this down on those marks that I just made. And I'll move these out of the way. And then we're going to decide where we're going to fold it using the base piece. So as I said, I kind of wanted the paper clip to be up just a little bit from the bottom. So I'm just going to eyeball this where I kind of want it. And I'm going to, let me do it this way. So if I want my paper clip to kind of sit on the fold, I have to be sure that my front side is a little bit smaller than my back side. So I'm just going to look at what this is, and it looks like this is 1, 2, 3 inches here, and 1, 2, 3, and it looks like 3 3/4 or so on this side. Excuse me. So that's enough. So about 3/4 of an inch will stick out the bottom. So this one's about 1 inch. It'll be a little bit less than that, but that's okay. Or I could move it down if I wanted to. So I'm trying to decide. I might move it down just a little bit. And once again, this is, entirely a personal preference where, you want it to fold at. So I'm just kind of making 3 marks there so that I can fold it by hand. If you had a score board, you could certainly use that for this as well. And so you can see now I have a little bit, like about 1 inch or so at the bottom there. And I'm just, this cardstock is a little bit weird when it folded. I don't know why. So I'm just going to make sure I rub that a little bit. Now, what I can do is I can just kind of see where this is going to sit before I do anything to it. So I could either glue this down, or I could stitch one side of it. So I can't stitch both sides, obviously, because I need to fold it. And if I stitch all the way around it, I'm not going to be able to get my paper clip in here. And when I put my paper clip in here, it needs to be folded. So there really isn't a good way to sew all the way around the entire thing, unless what I might do, maybe, and this might work, so that, because as you can see on this one, I sewed around this front side, but the back side doesn't have any sewing because I didn't want to sew the whole thing together. So, and I wanted to be sure that this paper, you know, covered the paper clip at the top part too. So it's one long strip that goes over there. So what I may do though, is I may just glue the front part down, leaving a pocket for my paper clip. So if I put any glue on here, if I put any glue on the front part here, I just want to put it around the edges so that I can still get my paper clip down in there. But then what I might do is I might fold this down and just do a zigzag stitch around here so that it looks like the whole thing will be sewn. So let me kind of show you what I mean. I'm just going to take a little bit of glue and I'm just going to put it at the bottom of this piece of paper, just to hold it in place before I sew. When I sew, obviously that will hold everything else down for me. And I can see my pencil marks here on my paper, so I'm just going to erase those. Okay, so now it's just kind of tacked down on here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold this up and I'm going to sew from the fold on one side all the way around up to here. And then when I get here, I'm going to take it out of my sewing machine, fold this down, and then just do a zigzag stitch just on this top piece here so that it looks like when I glue it down, I actually sewed it all the way around the piece. So let me go sew that and I'll show you what I mean. Okay, so now you can see when it's open, it looks like I have sewn around the entire thing. But tricky, you can see I only sewed around the back part with this folded down. So the front part is actually sewed together, so that's on there. And then this back part is not. So this still leaves me a little pocket right here, which is what I'm going to do next. Is I'm going to take my paper clip and I'm going to put it in the pocket here. I'm going to put it right in the middle there. And then what I'm going to do, so I have my paper clip on there and you can see now it's hidden between these two papers. I'm going to take my back piece and I'm going to fold it down. Oops, and I didn't fold it very straight there. So I'm going to try that again. When you have that paper clip in there, sometimes it doesn't allow you to fold it straight. So just watch for your straightness. And because of the paper clip, I do have a little bit more of a border down here at the back, but I am okay with that. So once you have that straight and you have that kind of together, then what I'm going to do now is I'm going to glue the whole thing down. The next thing I'm going to do, this paper, it's so funny how some cardstocks, they are just overdone on white. So like you can really see the white on the edge of this. And I'm not sure this is even gonna, this distress ink is not even gonna maybe work. I might need to take like a, I don't have a brown one there. I was gonna see if maybe I had like a brown, maybe even black would work. Like a black marker here and just lightly go around and knock the white off the edge of this paper. I don't know why that drives me so crazy, but it does. So if I just go along the edges, that pretty much takes care of all the white edges on that paper. I should probably look around for a brown marker because that probably, I mean, actually you can, it just kind of looks a little bit more distressed actually. So, and I realized I didn't do this one. So let's do that one too. If I'm gonna use this on some of the edges. I should probably use it on all of the edges, huh? So I'm just going to try to do it so I don't make a mark. Since we have our paper clip in there, I can't fully open it up. Okay, so now you can see, you know, the size difference here, but I kind of love that, you know, this makes a nice big tuck spot. And then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do a collage on here. I just pulled out some pieces of collage that I think would look nice on here, that would be fun. And then I'm also going to grab, I have a little scrap box with some scrap fabrics in here. So I'm just going to see if I have something that kind of grabs my eye. I think maybe that one, just to give this a little texture or something, I think. So let's see if maybe I can use that one in there. Okay, so I was thinking I like to kind of just do the collage before I actually glue it down. And to be, you know, very honest with you, I did actually go through and kind of put this together so I knew what I wanted it to look like, so that I wouldn't have to spend all the time on camera doing it. So I have this little, these are little pieces of ephemera from some Tim Holtz ephemera packs. And they make fun collage for sure. So I love this little photograph here. And then there's this little botanical. And I was even thinking this little guy might go up there and be fun. And then maybe I'll have to find something to go on the bottom here, because that looks a little empty to me now. But I do kind of like this configuration. I really like the fabric in the upper corner there. So I'm going to take the top pieces off, and we'll glue down these bottom pieces. I like that. And then what I may do, just gonna grab my, I have a little, see if there's something in here I can find. I got another little long label I thought would be cute down there. Let me see if I got something. Ooh, this date one might be good. That one might be fun. Actually, I think that one is gonna be fun. All right, I don't have too many things in here. Looks like I'm gonna have to print some more of those labels. Okay, oops. And this one I need to just, I see some white edges. We're gonna trim them down a little bit. And I may even try to make this just a little bit thinner. Just so it fits in that box a little bit better. See. Oops, little schniblets all over the place. You guessed it. Grab some distress. And I'm not sure if I like it on the left or the right, or maybe even the middle. Nope. I think I like it on the left. And you could certainly add more fabric to this, or even use a heavy piece of fabric as your cover paper instead of, you know, cardstock if you wanted to. I think there's definitely a lot of options here. Okay, and I like the way, get that out of the way. I like the way the back kind of looks like it's sewn, even though it is sewn, but it's not sewn to the backboard there. Okay, we'll give that a second just to dry. And then I'm gonna grab my handy dandy ledger paper book here that I like to practice on here. And then once again, because the bottom comes, actually I should probably open this up. Let's do that. The bottom, you know, you can really tell that the bottom is supposed to be separate. This becomes just a really fun piece there. Really fun, like, I don't know, tuck spot it looks like. But I love the fact that it's not sewn on. And you could even do some more collage on the back of this. I think that would even be fun. I'm going to try and grab a bigger piece of paper, because then you could even put things, you know, in the front part of this clip or in the back part of this clip. And I love how this kind of expands your paper clip. I mean, that was a pretty small paper clip, but I can really put some big pieces of paper in here if I hold it onto the top of the paper. But I can really put some big pieces of paper in here that would be fun throughout my journal. So I love how those came together. All right, there you have it, friends. 6 more ideas for altered paper clips. I hope that you enjoyed this video and making all these fun altered paper clips for your journals. I hope that you'll go out and try some of these ideas and make them your own. If you do, I'd love for you to tag me on social media at Mad Paper Crush, and I hope that you'll join me for the next video. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye. Take care, friends.